Augustine talked about them, but I said I really believe that they were given to us by a man on a cross.
That's right.
We were created to be free, to have dominion over the land and to care for one another. That's where those principles come from, and that's why they are so powerful. If we would just have the courage to speak the truth, we would see this kind of enthusiasm for our free society. We have the opportunity in Texas. We are this close to really changing our state as we know it, and to giving people hope, not just here in Texas, and believe it or not, just in the United States of America, but well beyond. When I first was considering getting into this race, people were asking me to run, and I was looking at the insurmountable odds that we would be facing and trying to make an objective decision about whether or not it was a battle that should be waged, not because of the cost to me and my family, but because of the cost to you and yours. I knew that there were going to be folks from all over the state of Texas who would stand with me, and I was very concerned about the cost to you and your family when I asked you to stand shoulder to shoulder in this very difficult battle. And one of the women from Colorado County kept saying to me, Deborah, I don't think you understand how much support you would have from all over the state of Texas. Do you mind if I just send an email to my network and let them know that if they'd like you to get in, let them know you're thinking about it, and if they'd like you to run, to send you a note and give you their 2 cents. And I bet Noe and I received 150 or 200 emails within about 48 hours. And my husband was particularly touched by the sentiment that came in those messages. And it wasn't long after that till we got into the race, and then we had a campaign Facebook page. And for those of you that have been following our page, I got to commend you for the level of discussion and dialogue that occurs on that page. I think we're getting very close to having the same number of fans that Governor Perry has. We surpassed Senator Hutchison several weeks ago. But the truth is, we surpassed the governor a long time ago in the amount of interaction that's going on. People are talking about what's happening in Texas, and one of the things that I can see as the administrator of that page is where those folks come from. And from very early on in this campaign, we had fans from 9 or 10 other nations besides the United States of America. People are looking for country. We had a really interesting experience today. I spoke in Lytle at 11 o'clock today, and I've never been to Lytle before, but I've been to lots of Lytles in my life. And I got out there and I thought, gosh, I don't know if anybody's going to come. And sure enough, we had a great crowd there for lunch. But the biggest surprise of all was we had a guy from New York City. Not that guy from New York City. A guy from New York City. Literally a reporter from a London newspaper who offices in New York City, flew to San Antonio and drove to Lytle, Texas. I didn't have a horse. If he'd have come to Texas Pride last night, we could have shown him a horse. I could have even given him a piggyback ride on the back of that horse last night. But I'm telling you that people are watching this race from all over the United States of America, and indeed from all over the world. So we have an opportunity, Texas, like one that we haven't enjoyed probably in most of our lifetimes. And it really isn't about a Debra Medina. It's about championing these ideas. So what are we here fighting for? You know, when I thought about getting into this race, I said I've got 3 jobs to do. I've got to continue to run a small business to pay the bills, to help pay the bills in our home. We've got to run a statewide campaign. Have you noticed Texas is a big state, and we've got to travel from one end to the other to talk to people. It's very important to me that I have the opportunity to look you in the eye, shake your hand, so that you know who you're dealing with here, not just send you direct mail pieces and slick advertising campaigns, but get out and interact with you. This is probably my 7th or 8th trip to San Antonio in the last 12 or 13 months, and some of you have been at almost every one of those engagements. We've done that all over Texas. I've traveled 4, 5, and 6 nights a week for 13 months talking to people around the state of Texas. I had a guy in Comal County last week ask me if I would commit, once I became governor, to visit Comal County once a year. And I don't have a PhD in math or anything, but I thought 254 divided by 12 is 20-something. And I didn't think I could commit to seeing 20 counties a month for the next 4 years. And so I said, gosh, it's important that we continue that dialogue, but I don't want to make promises I can't keep. But it is important to me. I don't think I'll keep up the travel schedule that I've had for the last year, but we ought to have that dialogue. You ought to be able to look your leaders in the eye, and I would encourage you to do that. When your state representatives and your state senators have town hall meetings in your area, go. You get something out of this that you can't get over a phone, you can't get on a text, you can't get through a radio ad, and we will find the best solutions for our state if we will employ the wisdom of the assembly, the minds of men coming together to talk about the issues we're facing. We'll come up with ideas and solutions that by ourselves will never make it to the table of discussion. Run a statewide campaign, but the most important thing for the last 13 months is to prepare to govern the state of Texas, and really began 13 months ago digging in and looking for what is it that we need to do. Not happy with the direction Texas is going, and quite frankly, not happy with the direction the country has been going, been fighting at the grassroots level for years to try to implement these limited government, individual responsibility sorts of principles, and might as well have been spitting in the wind because it just keeps getting worse. Ironically enough, after the conversation of the last week, or I guess it's ironic that the conversation of the last week has been injected into this race. I had been working in grassroots politics since the early 90s. And I'm also a registered nurse by profession. Those of us in healthcare know as well as anyone that life can change on a dime. We know how quickly it can be altered. But 9/11 kind of slapped me upside the face and said, you know what, the life of a nation can change just as quickly. Didn't ours change just that fast on that day? And I had been for some years acknowledging that we weren't asking our candidates the right questions. If we were doing a good job of interviewing these men and women, we wouldn't keep getting bigger government. We're all out here as conservatives wanting limited government, and we keep getting more, so we're not hiring the right people. Agreed?
Right.
We're doing all we can. We think we're asking the right questions when we get into these candidate forums, when we get into these campaigns. We vote for the people that we think are going to get us back to a constitutional republic and a limited government. We keep getting bigger government. We're not asking the right questions. 9/11 came along, and I realized the life of a nation can change in a heartbeat. And I thought, you know, that's the question we ought to be asking. See, really, the job of government, isn't it, is to protect life, liberty, and property. Isn't that the first job of government?
Amen.